What's up, everybody? Nicholas Kuzmich here from nicholaskuzmich.com, and in this video, I want to reveal to you how to never again lose on your Facebook advertising campaigns ever again. Well, most of the time, if you follow what we're going to tell you. Hey, before we begin, if you want my latest training bundle, I've packaged together an amazing training bundle where you decide what you want to pay, where you kind of pay what you want. Go to nixtraining.com, N-I-C-S, nixtraining.com. Go there, name a price, be fair, obviously, and grab my latest training bundle, which I think is going to be super valuable for you and helpful. Now, that being said, today, again, I want to reveal to you how to set up your campaigns so you never lose. Because yes, there are ways where you can kind of remove the emotion and not play around and screw around too much and still benefit from at the very least, break even, but ideally ROI or ROAS positive campaigns. And we do that by looking at one thing, and that one thing is what I call your magic metric. I came up with this because when we were running all these massive campaigns to the tune, in some cases, scaling to over $100,000 a day, I needed a way to ensure that A, I removed all the emotion completely out of the equation so I didn't have to worry about it psychologically and get all crazy about things, and to ensure that both my own campaigns as well as that of my clients remained profitable. Now, this is going to get into a little bit of math, so bear with me, and you may or may not know all your numbers just yet, but this is what you're going to have to think about and focus on if you want to ensure profitability and non-loss campaigns. And that again starts by asking or by looking at what is my magic metric. So this is a simple equation that starts with two simple questions. Question number one, what is the 30-day value of a lead? Okay, the first question, again, we're going to assume that you're running lead gen campaigns. This is kind of how we like to do it. I mean, you could ask this from a customer standpoint, but for the sake of this conversation, let's do it from a lead generation campaign concept, right? So number one, you're asking yourself, what is the 30-day value of a lead? In other words, when you bring in a lead today, what is that lead worth to you at the end of the 30 days? Now, a simple way to figure that out is determine or look at how many leads you generated in the last, let's call it 30 days, right? From those leads generated, what kind of revenue did you generate? And then that's kind of how you do the math to average out that 30-day value of a lead. So let's say we generated 100 leads in the last 30 days, and those generated $1,000 in revenue, meaning the value per lead equals $10, right? Simple math. And this now becomes the foundation basics for considering if all things stay equal, right? If we continue to run the campaigns the way they do, and frankly, they don't always stay equal, but assuming that our system stays put, our ads are running properly, we know that on average, the 30-day value of a lead in this example of an equation is $10. That is question number one. Question number two we need to ask then is how much of this value, right, your value per lead, can you spend, on acquisition? Okay, so if you know that the value of a lead is worth $10 to you in a 30-day time frame, and the reason we choose 30 days is, again, we don't want to look at 60 and 90 and all that, although that is valuable. Lifetime value is totally valuable. But again, if we're running campaigns and we want to remain profitable, most people don't have the bank to kind of wait out 90 days to fund their next campaign. So I like looking at 30-day values in order for us to come up with this equation. So question number one, again, is what is your 30-day value of a lead? Number one. And then number two, how much of this value or your value per lead can you spend on acquiring or acquisition, the acquiring of your next lead? Now, there is no perfect number here, and everybody is at a different place, right? Some people say I can spend 50% on acquisition, which then it would mean I could spend up to $5 to get my next lead, right? Some people might say 100%. In other words, I could spend up to $10 to acquire my next lead. Some people say 110%. Now, you might be thinking, why on earth would someone pay 100% or 110% to acquire that lead in the 30 days? Because they know that after 30 days, the 60 and the 90-day value, or even the lifetime value, is so much more exponentially more than this $10 that they're willing to take either a break even or a self-liquidating kind of experience on the front end, or even a little bit of a loss on the front end, in order to capitalize down the road even more than that, right? So this is what you kind of want to be thinking here, is what is the number, what is the place that I could be at to spend a percentage of my value per lead to acquire my next lead. Once you know that number, now this equation becomes very, very simple. Now, Ryan Dice and many other advertisers say this, and I'll just kind of throw this in as a side note, that he who can spend the most to acquire their next customer wins. Now think about that. He who can spend the most to acquire their next customer wins. Why? Because if me and you are in the same industry and you can spend $5 to generate a lead, but I could spend $10 to generate a lead, I will outbid you in these kind of like online auctions or competitions, if you will. And if I can outbid you, it's only a matter of time before you're out of business because you can't play anymore and I can continue to play. So I want you to think about that for you. Again, there's no perfect number here. I just want you to think, what are you comfortable with of a percentage of your value to acquire your next lead? Hey, before we continue, again, if you are interested in getting my latest training bundle, if you like stuff like this and you feel like it could benefit you on how to write better ads or how to convert more clients or how to do anything like that, run better campaigns, go to nixtraining.com. Again, NICS, nixtraining.com. I got the special promotion going on right now where you can pay what you want, right? Or name your own price and get my latest training bundle. You can do that now. So where do we go from here? Once we know the 30-day value of a lead, question number one, and we know how much of that value per lead we can spend on acquisition, then it becomes very simple, right? So let's say for the sake of this conversation, I'm not saying this is what you need to do, but for the sake of this conversation, let's say you are comfortable at 50% or $5 of $10 value you're willing to spend on your next lead. Here's the magic, right? Here's what you need to know when you're running your campaigns to ensure that you always, come out on top. And I call it the traffic light system. Okay, now, pardon me, I don't have a green, so we'll say, red light, if you will. We'll call black the yellow light, and we'll call blue the green light, for the sake, again, of this. Now, it's very simple now. Once you start running your campaigns, all you're going to do is ask yourself, is it a red light, a yellow light, or a green light? And you can decide what to do accordingly from there. So let's say, again, remember our now magic metric. The only number that we are watching at this point is this $5 acquisition for a lead. Let's say we're running a campaign and we've run it for a little while, and we start to see leads coming in at $15. Pop quiz, what do we do? Right? Now, very simple equation. If it is coming in at $15 and our magic metric is $5, this says it's a red light. What do? Stop, right? Turn the bloody thing off. Now you don't have to contemplate, is it worth continuing to run? Can I make it better? Should I do some bidding strategies to see if I can bring this cost down? Hell, if it's a red light, let's remove the emotion. Let's remove the thought behind this. Red light means stop. Like in any normal society, when you say red, it means stop. Now on the other hand, let's say we're running, our magic metric is $5. We're running a campaign and leads start to come in at $1.80, okay? So leads are starting to come in at $1.80. In other words, it's a green light, blue light, green light. It's a green light, right? What do we do now? Obviously, the answer is scale, right? Now, again, there's many ways and approaches to talk about scaling, and I have a whole different separate video for that. But if it's green light, if you're getting leads under your magic metric, you scale, right? You push it forward. Now, here's kind of where things get a little bit, interesting. Let's say your magic metric is $5, okay? And you're running a campaign and leads start coming in at $5, What do you do? Right? What do you do? Now here's where people start getting emotional, right? They're like, oh, it's $5. You just kind of keep it running and monitor it, right? Or, hell, it's good enough. Let's just keep it going. Here's where you start to get emotional about this. If your magic metric is $5 and leads consistently are coming in at $5.12, that to me is a yellow light, but it means stop. Don't continue what you're doing. Remove the emotion out, make a logical decision based on the hard numbers. Your magic metric is 5, it's coming in over 5, stop the game, right? But not really. In other words, what you really want to do at a yellow light is what we would call optimize. Now, there are various ways you can optimize, and I can get into a whole slew of those. We don't really need to get into those now. But optimize, here's one trick you can do. If I'm seeing leads coming in at a yellow light color, what I would traditionally do at that point is do an optimization, and typically the optimization, the first one that I would do is my creative. So my video or my image. For the sake of this conversation, let's say my image. So I would duplicate that ad set out. I would test a new image, because usually image carries most of the weight of the success of the initial success of the ad. So I would test out a new image and see if I can't bring this down to a green light option, right? So I would split test the image. And again, there's many different things you can do to optimize, but the point is at a yellow light, you are optimizing to see if you could bring that down, right? So in summary then, how do you ensure without emotion that every time you run a Facebook ad that it remains profitable and you don't lose money? You figure out your magic metric. How do you do that? You ask yourself, what is the 30-day value of a lead? Question number 1. Question number 2, you determine, or you ask yourself, how much of that value, your value per lead, can you spend on acquiring the next lead? Once you've done that, all you have to do now is you've come up with your magic metric, and you're running a red, yellow, green light system, and you remove the emotion completely out of this, right? You just focus on the colors of the lights and determining on whether it's red means stop, green means go and go faster, yellow means optimize. Now you are fully equipped to ensure that you don't let campaigns drag on too long. You're ensure that you don't run campaigns that are at a loss. And here's kind of how we'll sum the whole thing up. A lot of people come to me and say, so Nick, if I'm starting a campaign, what kind of budget should I allocate towards my campaign? Which is a fair question if you're starting out. And the real answer is as much as you're willing to lose to get the data. But once you kind of have some baseline metrics, right? The question is not how much budget do I need? The question is if I'm having or if I'm reaching my magic metric, how much are you willing to spend, right? So in this case, if your value of a lead is $10 and you're acquiring leads at $5, how many times would you want to spend the $5? And my answer would be as much as I humanly can within making those numbers work. So now you have it, right? The magic metric understanding gives you the ability to run Facebook campaigns at scale without compromising your returns, without running campaigns that lose. And here's the best part, in my opinion, without being so caught up in the emotion of it, like, oh, should I run it? Should I not? God, I'm pulling out my hair. I can't make... Without any of that, because you're following simple data versus kind of the emotions in your mind and your gut to make these decisions. When you run it that way, friends, you will get great results. Hey, if you like this training or this style of training, I invite you today to go to nixtraining.com, N-I-C-S, nixtraining.com. I prepared a nice little training bundle there for you, and I'm doing a little bit of a marketing experiment where you can pay your own price, right? Name your own price, pay what you want, of course, be fair. And that way you can kind of get involved in some of our trainings at a price that you think works for you. You can dive in and